And we're ready whenever you are.
Good evening, and thank you for attending tonight's City Council meeting. For those who are attending remotely, the camera in the council chambers is set up to show those attending in person tonight. The platform we are using has a raise hand feature. You will notice a picture of a hand in the upper right-hand corner. When we reach a point in the meeting where the public has the opportunity to address council, you can click that button and be given your opportunity to address council. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kathy, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Skelly,
Here.
Councilor Jellaba,
Here.
Councilor Fisher.
Here.
Councilor Kennedy. Here. Councilor Powers.
Here.
Councilor Reish.
Here.
Councilor Scamperly.
Here.
Quorum present.
We have one presentation tonight for a grant update and overview, but I think our city manager, Steve Jelly, has some news for us.
So Planning Director Andrew Smith would like to announce the new Director of Recreation tonight.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and members of the public. I am excited to be able to introduce to you the city's newest hire, Mackenzie Cole, who has accepted the position of Recreation Director. Mackenzie's with us this evening in the back. Mackenzie is a native of Ogdensburg. She is the daughter of Sally and Chris Cole. She has a sports management degree from Cayuga College and experience implementing and developing recreational programs for the Department of Corrections. So we're very excited to bring her experience and expertise here to Ogdensburg and have her join our team. So today was her first day. She'll be jumping right in. Later this evening, we'll be discussing the summer camps that we're proposing to offer this spring and summer. So she'll have her hands full overseeing those and making sure that we're off to a good start with the pool and other recreational amenities this year. So I'm very happy to introduce Mackenzie to all of you and welcome her to our team. So thank you. So, but my presentation this evening is really just intended to be a little bit of a discussion with council regarding opportunities for the current consolidated funding application round, which is New York State's primary funding application timetable, although it is not its only timetable. This is where several grant opportunities through multiple state agencies offer programs and funding opportunities. So in front of you all, you have a table that I've put together where staff has gotten together and put our ideas in terms of what various projects are in the city and how they align with various state agencies and specifically programs that have funding available through this current funding round. Keep in mind, these applications that you don't see here are due July 30th. For this current year, they're typically announced. The awards would typically be announced in December, and the funding would be available in fiscal year 2022. So the table that I've provided you identifies the state agency, the program area, a very, very general project description, and it outlines the funding parameters for each of the programs, including the minimum and maximum that we can apply for, as well as the required state and local matches. There are 13 applications that are identified here. I'll be clear, I'm not recommending that we apply for all 13, but there are at least 13 different programs or projects that the city could seek funding for, as I see it, in the current round of funding availability. There are 4 programs that are highlighted in green. These are the programs that I feel the city has the best chance of being successful at, and would advance projects that the council has either discussed as being priorities or are priorities through the recommendations of staff or the administration. So I'll just go through these 4, and then if there are specific questions or comments from council, I would be happy to answer them. So the first one is through the Department of State. Specifically, the program is the Brownfield Opportunity Area Program. You'll recall that the city does have a designated Brownfield Opportunity Area, which is about 330 acres in the center of the city that encompasses parcels on both the St. Lawrence and Oswegatchie River fronts. And our Brownfield Opportunity Area was designated by the Department of State in 2016, in August of 2016 specifically. And this funding that I'm recommending that we do apply for is reserved to only communities with a designated Brownfield Opportunity Area. The program would fund environmental site assessments for properties within the BOA, the 330 acre study area, specifically property that is either owned by the municipality or that has been accepted into the state's brownfield cleanup program as a volunteer. Again, keep in mind that this funding won't be available to the city in terms of actually executing and implementing the program until 2022. At that time, I do believe that we will have ownership of potentially a few other potentially contaminated properties, and this funding would be available to conduct environmental site assessments to determine whether in fact there is contamination and the degree and extent of contamination on those properties. The second application that I would recommend further examination of is through New York State Homes and Community Renewal through the Community Block Grant Program for the purpose of conducting preliminary engineering reports for East David Street reconstruction to include water, sewer, and stormwater separation. This is a project that has been listed as a priority project for the Department of Public Works for some time, but the city has not had available resources to conduct the required preliminary engineering to advance that project to implementation. So this project would fund, if successful, the preliminary engineering documents, which would be necessary to further implementation grants, of which there are several also listed in this table. The maximum funding for this is $50,000, and it requires only a 5% local match. The third opportunity I've highlighted is through Empire State Development, ESD, through the Strategic Planning and Feasibilities Program. There are several projects that could benefit from this funding, which is a maximum award of $100,000. It does require a 50% match, 10% of which must be cash. So it's one of the more, it's one of the programs that does require a more significant contribution from the local government. It would provide preliminary planning, funding for preliminary planning studies to assess particular sites or facilities to determine the economic development potential for those. There are several properties that we could look at. This is not a comprehensive list, but 30 Main Street or 212 Ford Street are examples, as well as looking at downtown Ford Street. We could also use that funding to further development proposals that might come out of the RFP that we're working on right now for the Diamond Shade Roller site. And the fourth and final program that I just wanted to highlight for you this evening is through New York State Environmental Conservation, DEC, through their WQIP, the Water Quality Improvement Program. This is a source of funding that we currently are a recipient of and are using on our capital project at the wastewater treatment plant. However, in this instance, I would be recommending pursuing an application specifically for renovations at our Main Street pump station, keeping in mind that we have an application pending with NBRC. The maximum amount that we can seek through NBRC is $1 million. We did put forth an application for $1 million. We estimate the total renovation cost for the Main Street Pump Station to be $1.8 million. So we do have a gap. NVRC funding is federal funding and could be matched with this funding source. And as you can see, there is a 60% local match requirement. So it is a good fit. So those are the four that I would recommend pursuing. This evening, you have been presented with a resolution to call for a public hearing that would enable us to keep all of our options open for applying for CDBG funding. If approved this evening, that hearing would be held at the next council meeting, and then a decision could be made whether or not to apply for CDBG funding and what exactly that application would be.
It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Andrea, can I ask you a question on this?
Yes,
Try not to.
I'm ready for the quiz.
So the very next one after number 4, the Water Quality Improvement Program.
Yep.
That $10 million. Could we apply for that grant and use it on our current project, wastewater treatment?
No, because we do have one.
Right, but we can't get another one.
Correct. We have received maximum grant funding through that particular program for our wastewater project.
Counselor, but to that end, one of the things we did when we broke the pump stations off that was
Right.
now they're separate projects. Now we could apply potentially to that as a separate project altogether because it's
Okay.
not part of the wastewater. So again, now, not certain that's the best avenue. There's federal grant programs available. So this is looking specifically at the state programs, but that gives us an option, to do that as we look forward to how to fund those pump station
I
projects.
think we had 4 or 5, didn't we, that we cut out of there?
Did.
So that would be excellent.
And on the, in terms of economic development projects, you met with the IDA in regards to grants that they might be able to put in?
We did. We met with them and we're gonna meet again as we finalize the list. I don't know at the moment, Counselor, with the list we've got now, again, as far as giving them to do the grant application, I think it would be a collaboration anyway, but we're gonna work together with them as they're going through the list too, to see what they're gonna do and what we can marry up together.
But to your question, Councilor Reich, the IDA is looking at several grant opportunities through the CFA. One in particular to advance the efforts of renovations and reoccupation of the Newell building. So that's one of the applications that the city has indicated that we would be supportive of and would be happy to provide assistance if they need it on that.
So I think in a nutshell, what we wanted to leave you with tonight is this is, as we've gone through the book, this is what we see as high probability stuff, some of it higher than other. The ones in green are the ones we think are really no brainers. Andrew will be working on those immediately, but if you all could look through some of these, see what you think of some of these are. We've got some others that we think would be, perhaps beneficial to put in for, but those 4 I want to get focused on as we look through some of the rest of these. Happy to have discussions specifically if there's something here you see, what's this about, what can we do? But this gives us, and on the back of her presentation just gives you some of the other, at the bottom there, other 2021 city projects and grant applications with other entities that Andrea's got in motion. So again, we're focusing now on the CFA period, but this isn't the only grant opportunity. This is just state level grants. The bridge funding, for instance, the New York State DOT Bridge New York Fund, that one is done separately from the CFA process. Andrea just recently has submitted all that. And then you'll see the other stuff that is a matter of federal grant applications.
So that last portion on the backside is already in the works?
Those have all been submitted
Okay, good,
or are in a state of submission.
good, excellent, thank you.
In terms of the BOA, is there additional assessment that needs to be done at Shade Road?
We anticipate, yes, the short answer is yes. We'll actually be out doing groundwater monitoring and sampling in the very near term, potentially as early as the end of this month, in an effort to advance the documents that are necessary to do the additional cleanup at that site. So if, for example, we had this funding available to us right now, this environmental site assessment funding, we could pay for that sampling with these funds. So a year from now, if we have to do additional sampling to confirm that we have gotten all of the contamination, this funding could be available to do that. It could be available, it would be available if we're successful to do environmental site assessments on properties like the Kiwanis property or the MCYC property, both of which had previously been accepted as volunteers in the state's brownfield cleanup program. It would also be available to do work at sites like 30 Main Street, where we may want to do demolition, but prior to doing demolition, we would need to do, or in conjunction with demolition, we may need to do some sampling. And it's a 5-year grant. I didn't add this note, but for what it's worth, it's a 5-year grant period. So those funds would be available to us over a 5-year period.
So we have 5 years to meet the match or whatever. and get
To
it in our
spend down the
budget.
money. So you can apply for up to 300,000. You don't have to apply for the whole amount. That's the maximum you can apply for. And then your match, the 5%, is based on whatever you're awarded. You would have 5 years to spend down all of your funding. So if 2 years into the grant period, the city acquired a property through the foreclosure process, and it needed site assessment, we could use these dollars on that property.
Great.
Anything else? Anyone? Thank you.
You're welcome.
We do not have any public hearings tonight, so this brings us to personal appearance. At this time, if anyone attending in person would like to address council, please come down to the podium. You have 5 minutes.
Good evening, council and mayor.
Good evening.
I'm Penny Kerfine. I'm the director of Ogdensburg Public Library. I just had a couple of quick things to say. If you haven't been in the library, come check out our fishing equipment. We've got summer reading that has started and is going strong. But my two main things were that I wanted to thank everyone on public record in the community for their support of our referendum. We were thrilled that it passed. It gives us stable funding and we're really excited to move forward here. Second thing is I have been asked by board members and other community members, so I figured I'd bring it to you because I didn't have the answers. We would like to know the specific reasons why the library board recommendations for appointment and reappointment are not acceptable. And I'd like the answers in writing by Friday the 18th, as the people who have been asking me the questions asked for that date. And as this is a personal speaking time and not question and answer, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Now, if anyone's attending remotely would like.
Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good evening. I'm Ann Lesperance. I live on Rensselaer Avenue in Ogdensburg. I am one of the 3 recruited applicants for the Board of Trustees of the Ogdensburg Public Library that Mayor Skelly has deemed unacceptable. Per an email from Mr. Jelly dated June 9th, 2021. I was appointed to the library board by the previous city council. My appointment was scheduled to end on December 31st, 2020. On December 17th, 2020, Mr. Jelly was informed of my willingness to be reappointed for a 5-year term. The City Council voted on December 13th, 2020 to extend appointments that ended December 31st until January 31st, 2021, to allow the council time to review appointments. The council approved appointments on January 11th, January 25th, and February 8th, 2021. None of these were for the library board. The council did not address the listed agenda item of appointments on February 22nd, March 8th, April 12th, April 26th, and May 10th, 2021. May 10th is the last posted notes for regular council meetings. At the April 26th meeting, a discussion under old business reaffirmed that Mayor Skelly is responsible for the Library Board of Trustee appointments. Mr. Jelly stated that 5 applicants were available. This is 2 applicants that responded to the recruitment by the Library Board, myself, and 2 additional applicants. Mr. Jelly stated these names would be sent to Mayor Skelly. Mayor Skelly stated he would not simply appoint individuals recommended by the Library Board of Trustees. Since January 31st, Mayor Skelly has had the responsibility of appointing 3 trustees to the Library Board. Since at least April 26th, he has had 5 applications. As of today, no appointments have been made. Mayor Skelly has shared criticism of the Library Board and Director, implying a lack of accountability, unsatisfactory effort, poorly maintaining our building, poor management, failure to be efficient, that the library has wasted the taxpayers' money for years, and a lack of creative thinking. Mayor Skelly has also shared the library needs new leadership on its Board of Trustees to make the difficult decisions that must be made to advance the library into the future. Mayor Skelly, you have not completed your assigned job responsibility. You have failed to make the appointments that will allow our board to be full strength. You have denied us the ability to get new viewpoints and advance new ideas. It has been over 4 months. Be accountable, Mayor Skelly. Make the effort. Make the difficult decision to appoint trustees to the Ogdensburg Public Library. I thank the council for their time and attention, and I thank the past council for their vote that allowed me the opportunity to serve as a library trustee.
Thank you, Ann. Is there anyone else? At this time, anyone attending remotely, please use the raise hand feature.
I do not see any hands raised.
And this brings us to correspondence. Do we have any correspondence?
We do not.
So this brings us to, next is our consent agenda that declines as enumerated in general fund warrant number 11-2021, the amount of $765,630.75. In library warrant number 11-2021, in the amount of $9,057.54. In capital fund warrant number 11-2021, in the amount of $808,132.10. In community development fund warrant number 11-2021, in the amount of $75.53. In community renewal fund number 11-2021, in the amount of $1,516 as audited. Be and the same hereby are ordered paid. So move.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Kathy, would you call the roll?
Mayor Skelly,
Yes.
Counselor Dilaba,
Yes.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Reese,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
approved.
And we do not have any appointments tonight. And this brings us to items for council action. Our first item of business will be read by City Manager Stephen Jelly.
A resolution to declare the city of Ogdensburg's decision to preempt 1.5% of the local sales tax collection. Whereas the city of Ogdensburg and St. Lawrence County are parties to a sales tax agreement that governs how the 4% local sales and compensation use tax are allocated. And whereas the St. Lawrence County Board of Legislators Finance Committee on January 25th, 2021 voted down a resolution to extend this agreement and continue reasonable negotiations beyond the current term, which expires on November 30, 2021, by a vote of 7 yes in support of an extension by Legislator Rita Curran, Legislator James Reagan, Legislator Dave Forsyth, Legislator William Sheridan, Legislator Harry Smithers, Legislator Larry Denisha, Legislator Rick Perkins, and 8 no votes to deny support of an extension by Legislator Margaret Haggard, Legislator Susan Fiacco, Legislator John Burke, Legislator Tony Arquette, Legislator Nicole Terminelli, Legislator Joseph Lightfoot, Legislator Kevin Akers, and Legislator Dan Fay. And whereas the St. Lawrence County Board of Legislators proposed a new sales tax sharing agreement whereby the city of Ogdensburg will receive a 50% or greater reduction of sales tax collected. And whereas the City Council of the City of Augsburg believes it is not in the city's best interest to enter into a new agreement with St. Lawrence County, but rather to pursue preemption and collect its own sales tax, to include the local home rule authority for an additional 1% in place of the 1% the county currently assesses. And whereas the City of Augsburg presently has the authority under Section 1210 of the New York State tax law to preempt the 3% local sales tax, of which the city will receive 1.5% and all sales tax collected in the city. Whereas the City of Ogdensburg must enact its local law imposing a sales tax no later than September 1, 2021. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Ogdensburg will exercise its authority granted under New York State tax law to preempt 1.5% of the 3% local sales tax. And further, be it further resolved, the city manager shall formally advise the St. Lawrence County administrator of the city's decision to adopt legislation instituting a city sales tax in the amount otherwise permitted by law, said tax to become effective 1 December 2021.
I'll introduce this. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Kathy, would you call the roll?
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Reish,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Mayor Skelly,
Yes.
Counselor Dilaba,
Yes.
approved.
Our next item of business will be read by Director of Planning and Development, Andrea Smith.
A resolution calling for a public hearing seeking comment on the city's intent to apply for two New York State Homes and Community Renewal under the 2021 CFA Community Development Block Grant Program.
I'll move that. Is that, do you need to explain this further? Or with that presentation good?
That was fine.
Good. I don't want
I'll second that. Discussion, anyone?
Is this a maximum grant of $50,000?
Planning grants are a maximum of $50,000, planning and engineering grants. That's correct.
So the maximum for the other types are like $1 million?
The city is not eligible for CDBG public infrastructure funding at this time
Why would that?
because we do not meet the community-wide 51% low to moderate income. The city is at 50.999. So until the new census numbers come out, either we will improve, which would be great. The one advantage of not improving is that we may tick over the 51%, which would make us then eligible for community-wide benefit projects, including public infrastructure. That would also make us eligible for CDBG public facilities funding. So we could apply for things like HVAC improvements to City Hall, which we are also currently not eligible for.
So you can't pick a low and moderate income area and designate it as a target area and do public infrastructure in that target area?
That's correct. We cannot do that unless or until we conduct an income survey of all of the individuals in that particular area.
So we need to do that.
So this,
We always did that well before the grant opportunity came out so that it would be eligible.
The city has never conducted a program income survey that I have been able to find evidence of. We did-
did that every year we applied. We did target areas and we did surveys and we did multiple surveys every year.
So what you're referring to is when you put in a renovation, homeowner renovation, rental, rehab,
Infrastructure.
not infrastructure, but you would have to go around and you have to provide what are called case studies, where the city, and we do this, you put together case studies for what a scope of work would look like. You do an income survey. You have to get volunteers. Usually you have to submit no less than 3 case studies with a fully defined scope of work and project estimate, as well as an income survey and certification of the homeowners. And that has to be submitted with your renovation application. But public infrastructure is different. And we have it in writing from Homes and Community Renewal that we are not eligible. And we also submitted a request to determine if we would be eligible to submit for a funding request to conduct an income survey of the entire west side of the city, which happens to be a census tract, so it lines up quite nicely. And that was determined not to be an eligible project for the city to apply for. So if the city would like to conduct an income survey, we can do that at our own expense, and the state through the federal government does have a very well-defined procedure, which does include door-to-door surveying. So it will come at a cost.
And Counselor, I think our plan will be, we should have the census numbers before we do the budget deliberations. So if we haven't moved.
Did target areas and we did surveys.
Right.
And I mean, the simple thing is just to hire a consultant, have them come into town and do it and have it ready for next year, because that's like a lot of money.
No, I agree. But if we take in the other direction and we go to 51%, we won't need it. So we'll know that soon. If we don't get it, then during the budget, we'll
You know,
plan.
Some of these
we'll plan
target
to do it.
areas are probably 70, 100%. I mean, you know.
Maybe. I mean, which is fine. Again, I just thought we'd plan for it during budget period. We'll know soon if the census doesn't work to kick us to 51%. If we stay at 59, or again, as Andrea said, if we improve, which we'd like to believe we are, then we'll just have to look at funding it ourselves in the neighborhoods we want to fund. And I think that's how we'll accomplish it, because we'll need it then. We know that while the city may progress there, we'll still have neighborhoods that may not. So I think we'll plan for it then and fund the studies so we have them. Because once we have them, they'll be good and we can use them for a lot of different applications.
And all those, usually those studies have a margin of error plus 3 or 4%.
Yeah.
I mean, so it would seem like we would qualify based on the margin of error.
Yeah.
We have to make these arguments, I guess.
We do, and we're dancing at 50.99%. I mean, 51's the threshold, and they've denied us at 50.99%. I mean, that's what we're dealing with. So I think we'll get the census numbers in the late summer, early fall. We'll know then if that covers the city. If not, then we'll plan to budget to do the neighborhood surveys in the areas we think are the targets.
If you pull out old CDBG applications, I'm sure they're still around unless they get thrown out, but you would see the millions and millions of dollars for housing, public infrastructure, economic development, and they were all target area based, and they all, so that's what we need to start doing.
Right.
In my estimation.
Yep, agreed.
So out of these 4 from the state, we're only looking for $500,000 roughly.
I don't have my chart in front of me. This resolution is for a public hearing for CDBG.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, like, even with these other ones, out of all the ones that we're going to put in for right now, we're only looking for $500,000 out of all the grants that are available in this round from the state.
So the table that I gave you, and if we're going to go back to discussing that, I'll go get it. There are 13 applications that have been aligned with state agencies and programs. There are 4 that I have recommended to the council to pursue, being that I think we have the greatest need and the greatest chance of being successful. This is what I outlined in my presentation at the outset, and I've welcomed questions and comments from the council. The resolution before the board at this time is to call for a public hearing, which would be held at the next meeting on June 28th, and that, which is a requirement if we do submit an application for CDBG funding. So again, just kind of following the process, this would enable us to apply. Whether or not we actually submit an application is still up to council. And council can recommend any number of applications or those in addition to what I've outlined here.
On something that our DPW thinks is critical, I guess the most critical in the city, I don't know. I'd appropriate 50,000 right now to get going on it rather than go through an application process and her time and then reporting and, that's the easy answer there.
I think the more applications submitted, the better.
Yeah,
I mean, she's highlighting 4.
So this is for the number 2 on here?
Yes.
Yeah. I think we're probably going to do them all, right? You guys just, when you gave your presentation, you said that you're in the middle of discussion on these and you'll be presenting more to us, correct?
No, these are my recommendations to the council. Council can now tell staff what you want to do. But so the resolution to call for a public hearing would be required in order to apply for community development block grant funding of any kind, whether it's listed in green or not. So there are other programs that are community development block grant. They are all capped at $50,000, which is the maximum for planning and engineering and or community assessment grants. The one that I've highlighted in green is we can only apply for one. So we can't apply for all 4. We have to pick one community development block grant thing to apply for. The public hearing might help council hear from the public in terms of what they think we should apply for. But it would make it so that we would be eligible to apply. Without proof of publication and without holding the public hearing, we would not be eligible to apply for the funding.
And your highlighted one is the stronger of the CDBG grants.
I mean, so just for the benefit of those attending remotely and those in the room that don't have the sheet in front of them, there are a couple categories under either preliminary engineering reports or community needs assessment. Under preliminary engineering reports, there are at least 2 projects that came to my mind when I was reading through the guidebook. One is the one I had highlighted previous, which is planning and engineering for stormwater separation, new water, new sewer, new paving on East David Street. This has been a project we've talked about, I think, the entire 10 years I've been employed by the city of Ogdensburg. Another opportunity for preliminary engineering reports would be to do an accessibility analysis of the beach. Now, the only reason I'm not highlighting that as something that we should do is that my interpretation is that we're going to give it a go this year, do some analysis, and we may not choose to continue to do it next year. If we didn't choose to continue it next year, then we would have kind of put all of our chips into one application that we then wouldn't benefit for. So when we're trying to make our best judgments in terms of where we should spend staff time and or just dollars for a consultant, however you choose to do it, given those 2 opportunities, I would recommend pursuing East David Street planning and engineering. Another opportunity under community development block grant would be under the community needs assessment. But again, we can only choose one. We have to choose one and put in the application. So this is just much more general in terms of what we might want to do if we wanted to do a market study. If, for example, we wanted to see if there was a market for a hotel or some type of hospitality, recreation, something or other, not for any specific hotel chain or franchise, not for any specific site, but we just wanted to understand what the market was for a hotel or for multifamily development. We could apply for a market study under the CDBG community needs assessment. That's also a great opportunity for the city. But again, given the need to provide our citizens with more reliable and efficient water, sewer, and stormwater separation, I would recommend East David Street. But that's just my recommendation.
We have engineering done on the sewage pump station, right? And so this engineering would be for storm and sewer separation to add to it. Is that correct?
Well, Shane might be able to speak better to the needs of East David Street in particular, but it's my understanding that we would, much smaller scale, but similar to essentially the reconstruction street of Patterson Street, except it would be East David Street.
The pump station specifically, yes, we have engineering work previously done. Counselor Fisher, I think if what you were getting at is the dollar amounts, yes, because currently our demographic doesn't qualify us in the infrastructure category where the big dollar grants are.
It does,
That's why it seems like our
It
amounts.
does if you do a target area and you do this.
Yeah, the fact is, Counselor, we haven't done it. I mean, we can go over this all night long. We haven't done that. We have to do it. In 2 or 3 months, we'll know if the city qualifies carte blanche, and we'll do that. I mean, I feel like we're going around in time here. We're saying the same thing over and over again.
As far as, I mean, I just got this put in front of me. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation is offering water quality improvement programs for CSOs or combined sewer overflows. And the maximum there is 10 million. And it's the DEC that's saying that we're having a problem with, and that, cite us for violation of CSOs. So I think we should put in for the maximum. And when they don't give it to us, we'll say we applied. But we got to get going on some of these things. I'm perfectly
Let's
happy
move
to
the
vote
public
for
hearing.
the public
Let's get
hearing.
rolling
Yeah.
with it.
Are we ready to vote, everyone?
Yes.
Kathy, would you call the roll, please?
Counselor Kennedy?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Reese?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Mayor Skelly?
Yes.
Counselor Dilaba?
Yes.
Counselor Fisher?
Yes.
Approved.
Our next item of business will be read by Director of Planning and Development, Andrea Smith.
A resolution calling for a public notice and public hearing on a proposed ordinance to license municipal property at the Dubisky Visitor Center to the Greater Ogdensburg Chamber of Commerce.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? I hope it's a nice benefit to the community, and I hope he does well.
So this is for the Ogdensburg Chamber of Commerce. This wasn't
Oh,
for the other one.
I'm sorry, I'm ahead of myself.
Uh,
Chamber of Finance useful too.
The only question I had when I looked at the contract was I saw that they were required to, or the city's paying all the utilities. And does it offset the rent or?
That's why I see their rent amount is higher than this than we did the other gentleman, just by the way we're breaking it up. So we increased the rent to cover what we think is projected amount of utilities that they'll be out using.
Okay, thank you.
And we're still taking rentals and everything down there. Will the rentals go through will they actually go through the Chamber of Commerce, or will the rentals still go through
Still us.
the park, through recreation?
Yeah, still a city. We looked at a bunch of scenarios and we just really couldn't come up with any way to have them doing city work other than kind of, the quasi city welcome center, et cetera. So I think, having them there at the location, that's why we came to the rental agreement. We were looking initially at how to have them doing some city functions that would offset, rent or equal it out, but we just couldn't come up with a scenario that made sense, didn't tie their hands from what they needed to
So
do.
the city will still like maintain it?
Yeah.
Like after parties and things like that, the city will come in and clean up?
Correct. Yep.
So will the new city rec director have an office there?
Nope, the city rec director will have an office right here at City Hall. The chamber will basically use what is that whole corner area right there to conduct their business. At night, they've got a place to store their merchandise that they'll push
The
out.
voters will still have access to the
Absolutely.
voters area.
Yep.
So they'll greet people that want to come in and find out about Ogdensburg.
Absolutely. That's the plan. Yes, sir.
What do they maintain for hours? I'm just curious. I know Chamber, Laura is the only one in it, so it's like a Monday through Friday.
Right, we're working on the schedule now, and I think their plan is to do Monday through Friday, subject to her. Now she's getting an area, not just Ogdensburg. She'll have some other responsibilities, but
Right.
they'll show well advertising. But I believe her plan is to be there, the preponderance of the hours.
I think it'll definitely be beneficial. Everybody knows Laura, so.
Yep.
Kathy, would you call the roll?
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Reese?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Mayor Skelly,
Yes.
Counselor Dilaba,
Yes.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy,
Yes.
approved.
Our next item of business will be read by Director of Planning and Development, Andrew Smith again.
Y'all can't get rid of me tonight. A resolution to approve the sale of surplus property, formerly known as Paper Hayward Street West, following the public auction of June 8th, 2021.
I think we skipped one. City manager approval to lease the Dubisky Center?
We just called for the public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, we're on number 4, Dan.
We're all off.
So that's not on
We're
our,
all off track.
that's not our,
It's on the paper copy.
So bill number 40.
So the resolution was just approved was to hold a public hearing on the license of the space, which is a requirement before you can do that for the chamber.
I thought you were looking for approval, so you can do it when it's time.
Public
Gotcha.
hearing. Yeah, public hearing first.
Okay. Sorry.
Do you want me to start again?
No, it just shouldn't have been on the agenda if you didn't want us to act on it.
Well, I did. I wanted you to act on the public hearing, which you did. So
Oh,
So
so that
thank
was
you.
an attachment? Because it has an agenda item, number and everything.
That's why I thought we skipped one.
So that's, yeah, our bad, I guess. We just go ahead.
Yes. The cover sheet, if you look at the date on
Should we
it. So
table
that
it?
that was,
Should we table
that was a mistake on my part, yes. So if you look at the date at the top of the second sheet, Counselor Scamperly, that you're referring to, I
Mhm.
believe it says June 28th. That page should have been deleted. So I apologize
gotcha.
for your
okay.
confusion.
So because it's dated June 28th, we can just not table it and just forget about it?
You just amended. Today's date on
They
it.
don't, no, they want to deal with it next meeting. Keep going.
I'm pretty, so I just, previous to the statement I just read, I had read the summary statement to call for a public hearing on the license of the Dubisky Center, which was moved and seconded and approved.
Yeah, but then there's a second one.
But I didn't even read that because I don't even have that in my
Right,
packet. So
right.
the one I read was a resolution to approve the sale of surplus property.
Did anybody move that? I'll make that motion on Hayward Street.
I'll second it.
Now we're on Hayward, okay.
Did you finish the statement?
If it's okay, I'll just read the resolution. Can I just read the resolution? Thank you.
Please.
A resolution to approve the sale of surplus city-owned property. Whereas the city of Ogdensburg has by ordinance dissolved the westernmost portion of Paper Hayward Street via Bill number 24 of 2021. And whereas city staff have reviewed the parcel and find no conflict with the proposed sale, having no infrastructure or known easements of public benefit. And whereas said parcel was publicly auctioned on Tuesday, June 8th, 2021. Whereas all property sold by the city is as is where is by quitclaim deed, the city makes no warranty as to clear title or condition. And whereas all property within the city of Ogdensburg is subject to the provisions of enforcement of Chapter 97, Section 13, property maintenance. And whereas sale of surplus property promotes the return of underutilized property to the taxable roll for the greater benefit in keeping with comprehensive planning goals. Now therefore be it resolved that the city council approves the following sale. The tax map for this parcel has not yet been assigned by county of real property. The location is former Paper Hayward Street. The restrictions is this is a non-conforming parcel in the city's single-family residential zoning district being 60 feet by 103 feet. The minimum price established by council was $1,000 and the bidder for the minimum sale price of $1,000 was Aaron Smith. Be it further resolved that the sale of said city-owned real property shall be subject to review and approval by the city attorney. You also have been provided with the survey and I think Schedule A. Those are also both provided in your last meeting packet.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Discussion?
No, Dan did.
No, yes for discussion.
No, I seconded it.
Kathy, would you call the roll, please?
Counselor Reese?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Mayor Skelly,
Yes.
Counselor Dilaba,
Yes.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
approved.
Our next item of business will also be read by City Manager Stephen Jelly.
A resolution designated 2 additional regular city council meetings dates for 2021. Resolution designated the dates for the 2021 city council meetings was passed by council on 9 November 2020. Whereas the Ogdensburg City Council amended Administrative Regulations Article 2 entitled Personnel Policies and Procedures AR 17 by ordinance number 17 of 2020 at the December 14, 2020 city council meeting. And whereas 2 regular city council meetings will be held every month. Now therefore be it resolved that the following regular city council meeting dates are also designated for 2021, July 26th, August 23rd. Be it further resolved, all regular city council meetings will be held at 6 p.m. in city council chambers at City Hall or at such other places may be designated by city council. All meetings are open to the public.
I'll introduce this. We have a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Kathy, would you call the roll, please?
Counselor Scamperly,
No.
Mayor Skelly,
Yes.
Counselor Dilaba,
Yes.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy,
No.
Counselor Powers,
No.
Counselor Reese,
So are you saying we need these meetings?
Saying that we passed the ordinance, saying that we wanted to have 2 meetings in those 2 months and we didn't pass 2 dates. Doesn't matter to me if we have the meetings or we don't have them, but we're just acting upon the legislation that was passed.
Is
and
there a
passed
need
the date.
for them? You're saying there's a need?
I don't see how we possibly will go the entire month of July and August with only 1 meeting. We can call special meetings or we can keep them on the books. It doesn't matter. I don't see how we'll make it through July and August with all the things that we've got going on pre-budget that we'll get through July and August with 1 meeting.
I just soon wait and call for the meeting as a special meeting if we need it.
That's
So
my-
I'll
my
I'll
opinion
vote
too.
no.
It's a lot of work for staff, especially.
Not really.
So Counselor Reese, for clarification, your vote is no, correct?
Yes.
Denied.
Okay, we have some old business. City Manager will talk about.
Property tax collection for closure. Waiting to hear back from the county. I think we've had good discussion on this. I think we fleshed out all the facts. So I hope to hear from the county attorney soon on our position. City Beach update. We are in a bit of a holding pattern at the moment, just waiting for the battery of samples that we've taken to come back from the Department of Health. First 2 samples we got back, one was really good, and the second one we got back was really not good. So we're going to take a total of 8 to 10 samples. 2 are in. I don't have any other results yet. So we haven't moved forward with any additional work. We have the equipment identified that we need. We know the sources to get it. We've done all the work at the beach, the cleanup and the clearing that I think it's appropriate for us to do. We'll be waiting to bring in the final sand to decorate and to finish the beach area out with. It really now is down to what does the sample query come back and does the Department of Health clear us before we move out. We have insurance, additional insurance quotes, neighborhood of 4,800 to 5,200 is what it will cost us for additional insurance to cover the beach.
Sorry, additional
Yes,
on top of,
on top of our current coverage,
I'm sorry, and that number was what?
we're going to be in 48 to 5,200 counselor when it's all said and done. So I think we've got everything ready to go. The agreements, the documents are there. We're just about complete with our safety plan. Again, but before we move forward more definitively, I hope this week we'll see the results of the bulk of those tests. And then Department of Health will tell us if we should proceed or not. So.
Did we take a test this morning? After last night's rain, I know that some of them have to be after a rain, right?
We already took 5. And then tomorrow's Wednesday's the last sample, so it was 8 and then plus 5 after the rain.
Okay.
Looks great. You and your men did a wonderful job down there.
I don't think there really isn't anything else we can do, or it's prudent that we move forward doing until we see what those look like. I think everything we've done is clean things up, got us to the point we need to get to. We improved a minor drainage situation coming off the top of the hill closer to the borders section. to prevent further erosion in the land. So we've had good cooperation and working together on getting the facilities ready from the port. So I think we've got our parking plan, got a process plan, and Shane and I are now working on the lifeguard scheduling plan and how many days we'd have the pool open versus how many days we'd have the beach open. So I think all. So again, I hope to report to council in the next couple of days as those tests start to come back what the answers are.
Can you send us those results?
They do, sir.
Can you send them to us?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So we have a engineering plan in the works as well?
We do, sir.
Okay, good. I know some of the things I was asking about were those pipes.
Yes.
So one you just addressed, and then the other one that was coming out close to what would be the administrative building. I was wondering if it came out of the bathhouse or whatever. I mean, probably remember that discussion. So
Yep.
all that'll be in the engineering report, correct?
It will. And the smaller pipe that you're speaking of is a stormwater drainage coming from the parking lot area. The really large pipe, if you're standing at the beach off to the right, is the stormwater drainage coming all the way from the psychiatric center.
Has there been any brainstorming on any type of ADA compliance or what our plan is?
There has been, and the engineer is going to submit us what he thinks are some temporary options. And part of the reason we've had Andrea put that on the list for the to-dos is how we would move towards a more permanent solution if the beach were going to be a long-term program, how we would get a permanent solution having ADA compliance.
Thank you.
And when you get that additional insurance, can you share that with us as well as to what the cost will be?
Yes, sir. Moving on, comprehensive development plan. I've had a couple real good community engagements with some of the major stakeholders. I've got 2 more planned this week. Good comments, good feedback. Nothing really critical or anything. Just good comments from the folks that we're meeting with. I think we're also, as part of the engagement on the development plan, we're getting a little better insight to what some of the needs may be for some of the agencies. We met with United Helpers and we're able to discuss a couple of projects that they've got on the drawing board now they'd like our support with. So I think we're getting some good feedback on those. We've also met with part of this and just part of the grant application is Councilor Reshas. We've met with a couple of the private developer parties too to see what we can do to help their projects along and where they're at. So we'll be providing a full report on that.
When do you anticipate it to be going to the planning board?
I hope, Councilor, to finish all my engagements by the end of the month. So the first meeting of the July planning board is when I anticipate going. I think I've got everybody scheduled now that I want to meet with, pending anybody else. But I think we had a good meeting with the fort, for instance, the other day. So I've met with darn near, I've got everybody scheduled. We met with about half of them.
Has there been any, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm shocked that we're required to do a seeker review. It just blows my mind that the state wants you to do a state environmental quality review, even though it's a planning document. It's basically ideas, and the majority of it, if not all of it, is positive for the environment because we're cleaning up contaminated sites and it has many other positive environmental things in it. So I'm just surprised to learn that. I don't know if it would be a type 1 or a type 2 or an unlisted action, Andrea. I would hope it would be an unlisted action so it doesn't get dragged out. Or do you know yet? Or we have to approve that, right?
You do, and I don't want to presuppose, Councilor. We've engaged them on that. I mean, I think there's rationale to what you're saying about why does the seeker have to be done for a planning document, but the fact remains it's a requirement from the DEC that we can't get around. So we'll pursue it as quickly as we can, the most efficient means. I hope the planning board will take up the task for the city.
Right, but we would be the lead agency on the seeker and we would decide whether it's a type 1, a type 2, or an unlisted action.
Yes, but the criteria is pretty well defined what it's going to be. It's not something we're going to have discretion to determine. I mean, based on what we're doing, it'll determine itself which it is. I'd like to pre-guess it will be short form, but I don't think so.
Does anyone else have some old business?
Just on the comprehensive development plan, I missed it. I was taking notes. John asked when you'd be looking to have the planning board.
July.
July?
Yeah, I hope to have everything to them by the meeting in July.
Has there been any further discussion? What was the title you had in Developmental Director. Has there been any internal discussion regarding that or any of the other highlights of this?
The next planning position is in our recruitment queue right now. We've finished assessor, code enforcement, and recreation director. So the planning position is next on Andrew's recruitment list.
So what happened, like it's already been through our planning boards, but now, once they're done, what they're doing with it, it needs to go over to the county, and the county has oversight as well. So.
Now we're at new business. Does anyone have new?
Actually,
Are you done? Okay, go ahead.
I see the new memo here dated June 8th for the home rule legislation. The original one that was sent out to the senator and assemblywoman had, I see the changes. Was this the actual one that went to them, the one that's on my desk today? That had the 11, 12, and 13% sales tax projections on it?
Yes.
Because I believe that was part of the hangout in the assembly. Was some of the information that they were getting was coming back, and some of the concerns that they had with the relationship with the county, and ultimately the fact that things are the way they are currently. With that being said, was some of what, I mean, I followed this legislation all day last week, along with multiple work-related legislation that I had in my queue as well. And I just want to make sure the right document got to them, because there was some confusion as I reached into the speaker's office to help pursue this. And that was some of the issues that was coming back, where there were a lot of questions. And unfortunately, when I queued this up, it was Thursday. So, you know, unfortunately, I gave them the information I had, and then I didn't hear back anything after that.
I would say our process was same, Counselor. The senator's office and the assemblyman's office asked for it. We gave it to them. I didn't get any follow-up questions. I don't know. I can't speak to what the holdup is. There's a lot of there's a lot of conjecture out there. I don't know if anybody will give us necessarily a straight answer. I think it's a process. We're going to dig back in. I've got conference calls tomorrow with both staffs just to determine where we are. If the special session opens up, can we make another run at it? What do we need to do for support? Again, after that, I think it's speculation. I will say we responded to every query from about the February timeframe from the senator and the assemblyman's office. I did ask on multiple occasions, what do we do? What do you need from us? The message was always, let us take it. It's largely administrative regulation. It goes in on the down low usually. I think this was certainly an exception to the rule. I don't know. I don't think it would have been smart for us to try to get ahead of what they wanted. We knew about 4 or 5 days before the vote, maybe 6, I guess, is when the assemblyman saw the mayor at a public function, and that was the first indication we had that anything may not be well. But beyond that, I think, lesson learned truly. No piece of legislation is necessarily ever gonna slide through on its own. So.
Well, that's my concern, I guess, at the end of the day is like you'd mentioned, it's highly home rule legislation is primarily administrative. It's a checkoff, and for whatever reason, we need to find out why.
Yes, sir.
That was denied, or not denied, but it never left committee in the assembly. Patty in the late hours got it through the Senate, but in the assembly, it bogged in ways and means, and it sat there from April 15th to current date. And we need to find out why.
Yes, sir, I agree. We've asked. I think it would continue to be most appropriate for the elected officials of the city to ask. That certainly carries more weight. I know I believe the assemblyman was in touch with all of you post the election. So I think that's the best source of information, is you talking directly to the assemblyman and the senator. I think the Senate was waiting for the assembly. I don't necessarily think it was a 9th hour deal for them. They were convinced in the 9th hour. I think they were waiting for it to pass through the assembly. I think when Senator Ritchie saw that not happening, it was on their agenda and they advanced it. So, again, any thanks as always to Senator Ritchie for carrying these things. So, but I think continuing to ask the assemblyman and perhaps the speaker, what does it take to get it out of committee will help us, if there is a special session that comes open, figure out if we can get it moved.
Yeah, I've always taken the position on the home rule legislation, something as, normal as sales tax collections that, they're generally adopted without question. So I was surprised that the Assembly didn't pass it. The Senate did. And I would hope that they'd recognize the error and that they would adopt something in a future session. I guess there's rumors they may come back, but that legislation is critical to our future and the 10,000 people that live here, because it represents about $1 to $1.5 million in taxes, and we only collect about $5 million in real property taxes for the entire city. So that's it's a huge. I mean, I don't know if it's a blunder or what it is, but I still have the utmost faith that the state will get it right and adopt the home rule legislation prior to the end of the year.
I don't think there's any doubt, and this isn't a Republican or Democrat issue. This is an Ogdensburg issue. So I think it's incumbent upon everybody, whether there's an R or D next to your name, to be contacting folks. But I'd say in particular, if there's a D next to your name, we need the speaker to push this out of committee. I mean, and I guess, and that will be the question I hope to bring to council in the next few days. Is there a shot, and should we put the effort into putting the political pressure where it needs to be to move it? I think it's got the county's attention. I mean, it is not a cut and dry matter. Once we preempt and we become a sales taxing jurisdiction authority within the county, that their ability to collect the additional 1% will continue. So not only is this potential loss of money for Ogdensburg, it's a potential loss of money for the county. So now it poses a lose-lose. So while there was apprehension from the county, I think, to full throat support it, perhaps now that opinion will change. I understood they're meeting tonight specifically to discuss this matter. So hopefully we'll get some feedback from the county's position on this. It's not, this isn't not in anybody's benefit. So
Yeah, if the state fails to act, and I mean, we can thank the people on the county legislature who began all this by targeting one community and trying to take revenue away when they really didn't need it. So, but like I say, I'm hopeful it'll get straightened out.
The support memo that went to the speaker's office from the county only contained 2 county legislators on it.
That's a good example right there.
2.
I think there were some others that when given the opportunity called in or wrote their own letters in the 9.5 hour, but it was not a well coordinated effort to get the signatures. And again, we heard about that well after the fact. There was nothing we had any influence in up front.
Okay, I guess we're on to new business. Does anyone have some new business?
I just asked for the budget and the schedule and the designs for the Maple City Trail project. I've asked a couple of times. I just kind of like to see where we're at with that. It's been over a year. So
We'll provide it out to council. We have one hang up now. We've got one property owner who changed his position on wanting to provide a right of way across this property for the trail, is now changed his position for liability reasons. He's being advised it'd be better that he sell a portion of his property. So I'm just waiting to get that nailed down. That really determines how fast and how much forward we go with the development of that. So taking a little time with our lawyer, communicating with his lawyer, Andrea communicating with them. We're trying to work this out with the last party that will help us sew the whole thing together.
Just one quick question. I'm assuming everything's going well with the wastewater treatment plant and the project going on. We're on time.
Sir, doing well. When, in the final analysis, you approved that last change order and reset the budget. We were less than 60 days behind schedule, in a year with COVID and some of the challenges we've had down there. So the new schedule, excuse me, I'll have the new final schedule this week and I'll resend it to everybody, but we're still tracking for a completion date of about this time next year, total completion, including the additional item we just approved.
And this brings us to items for discussion, and we'll begin with the city manager, Steve Jelly.
Just have in front of you the schedule and the lineup for summer camps, et cetera. Just if there's any questions for Shane, Andrew, I don't know if Mackenzie hung around. If there's anything council wanted to see different, give us the feedback now or send it to us later. But this is the schedule. It's been publicized. I think we're pretty happy with the lineup of programs that are offered. Just again, if council's got any feedback now or later, just send it to me.
No, I think that's great, and I was really happy to see that you put so much time and effort into it. Andrea and whoever else helped out. That's super. The $30 a program kind of surprised me. I don't know how much that generates in revenues. I don't know if it's cost prohibitive for some people. So.
I don't think anybody ever gets excluded, do they, if they can't afford it? Isn't there a mechanism? I think Curritulo always found a way. And
I know that there's always been, if there's ever been children that couldn't, there's always been businesses, they take the signups and businesses have donated to cover X amount of campers. So I don't think anybody's ever been turned away. I've witnessed when Matt was running the program, he was calling to, get donations, and people were, sponsoring a camper or sponsoring camps, or people even called ahead and said, I'll sponsor, 10 campers this year. So
we've had, I think I've got 3 on my desk now, folks that have called with pretty substantial offerings for people that need help funding the registration. So yes, without talking too much in depth, most of them asked to remain anonymous. We have an avenue of helping some, and then we'll see what the load stacks up. Got one other that has said, hey, call me when there's a gap and let us know what it is. So I believe the answer is no. No one's ever been turned away, and I hope we'll be able to continue that.
it just shows the people in this community and who we are.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Make sure.
But there may be other people that see the fee and say, I'm not going to do that, and you never hear from them. So I just assume for city residents, it'd be free, pay taxes for something, but I don't know how that's set and who set it and everything else, but.
I think $30.
Yeah, we've set it based on the price it's been for a lot of years. Again, those are certainly good ideas. If we wanted to make it free for city residents, I thought this cost is more than reasonable, and with the number of people calling to say they could help fund those that may have a difficult time doing it, I feel like we'll get the program done.
But nice job. I was really glad to see all the different programs. It'd be nice if we could, take out a half-page ad in local papers so that people are aware of it. Maybe one in July, one in August, and good luck to our new director if she's still here. Happy to see that too.
Okay. One quick question here, as far as, I know that the pool always offered up swim lessons. And I don't think that came at a cost. Do you know if that's included in this year's program?
It isn't yet, Counselor, based on the number of lifeguards we have, if we're going to be able to offer that. That's why it's not offered in the program here.
They have special certifications.
Correct.
To teach swim lessons, which is
correct.
Part of the issue.
Yep.
Anything else, Steve?
I was gonna say, in reference to Councilor Reach being concerned, rather than offering it for free, maybe in the future, we could advertise, scholarships available or something like that on a form. So that way, if people are hesitant and unaware, just simply putting scholarships available. And then if somebody comes in or they inquire about a scholarship,
I think we can still do it. I mean, we're still
just
thoroughly
like
advertising.
simple verbiage might just, if that's a concern, entice somebody who maybe would not call.
It's a good idea, Nicole.
Yep.
Anything else for discussion?
So on the next item, Charter Administrative Regulations, OMC revision, I wanted to update council. The city clerk and I will be bringing, at the first meeting in July, we'll be bringing the first set of what we think are really realignment and cleanup with how the city operates. So I'll send you all the draft of that soon before we start working it through the official process. Again, our intent here is we're not rewriting the city charter. We're just trying to align things with how we're operating, things that we're not doing any longer, et cetera. Obviously, it'll still follow the same public process, but that's how we're moving forward with that. We're going to start with the charter. Kathy and I were looking at using the process, identify a change in the charter, figure out the administrative regulations it impacts, go on to the municipal code. But the volume of work is pretty significant. I would like to get through the charter. We don't have a lot of items. There's 12, 14 in there that I'd like to bring to council that I think can get us, again, a little more illustrative and aligned with how we're functioning daily and how we intend to function going forward. So I'll have those for you soon.
I still get quite a few complaints on motorcycles, loud exhausts, fireworks occasionally. So I haven't seen any statistics how many tickets we've been writing. I haven't looked up what the code says. Maybe we need to increase the fines. I don't know. Maybe the chief's got some ideas, not tonight, but you know, whatever you can do to give us some advice on making that better.
Sir.
Anyone else?
It's just a question in regards to the last comment on the codes. Is the Charter Commission going to be involved in this recreation of some of the regulations?
We just had one.
Right. I mean, you currently don't have a commission. So what our intent is to bring you, again, those things that are, again, I think, we all know there's a handful of examples of things we're doing or functioning that are in the charter that we just don't do. For instance, we don't have a Department of Engineering. So why do we continue to need Department of Engineering to be listed in the charter? So really what I'm bringing you is not things that I think a charter commission would dig into the essence of the document where we're going. These are really bringing to you the things that are, here's what we're not doing currently because it either doesn't exist any longer or this isn't the way it functions. It's in direct contradiction with federal or state law. I mean, to me, the real obvious things is what we're bringing to you. We're not attempting to replace a charter commission.
Nothing that would cause public debate.
Counselor, I wouldn't say that. I don't think there's anything that won't cause public debate, but I think when you see the list, and again, I think council, what I'd like to do is send you the list and say, hey, here's the stuff we recommend we take on, because I think a lot of it will be sort of common sense stuff. Let's get it realigned. Something like not having the city attorney at public meetings. That was a joke, Counselor. So let's just take it where it is.
Okay, so is that it for discussion? Okay, and this brings us to citizen participation. You wish to speak, come down, you'll have 2 minutes.
As a courtesy to those in the audience that don't know me or that are listening in, Jennifer Stevenson, 525 Green Street, Ogdensburg. I've noticed a trend over the last number of months that all of the resolutions are not being read in full. I know sometimes you have to do a summary statement, but it's very hard. I follow along on my phone with the full agenda, but not everyone has that ability, especially those that are at home. And if they're trying to follow it, it can make it very difficult. So as a courtesy to those you represent, I ask that you please allow all resolutions to be read either in full or by at least enough of a summary statement that people can understand what you're discussing and what you're voting. It's also very difficult. We used to get updates to the public. We're not getting those as much that I'm seeing anymore. So we really only have this avenue to know what the business of our council is doing. So I ask for that courtesy. Thank you.
Just one thing, is there any chance that people in this community are going to get an opportunity to hear or what your plan is with the $1.14 million that we got from the federal government for the pandemic? Are we gonna, I see other communities are starting to move ahead in some things. Okay, so I haven't heard anything. I'm just curious.
I haven't either. We're still waiting for a recommendation from Steve.
Oh, okay. All right. So will that be open to the public also?
So council, we are in the last tier of approvals for that funding. We we don't have the final guidance on what we can use it for, when we can use it, or how to apply for it. So I know there's a lot of publicity out there. Right now, it pertains to the larger communities the money's coming directly to. We've been lumped into the last group. We just don't have all the final requirements of what it will be for. So nor do we even have the process to apply for it yet.
So we don't have that money then, right?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else? Is there anyone attending remotely?
The first individual is registered as Penny Sharrow, and I will unmute that individual now. It appears you are self-muted. Appears your line is open.
Okay, I'd like to address Mr. Powers in regards to the lessons at pool. I'm in the process of working out a plan that I'm going to present hopefully to Shane and to the Department of Health, where we may be able to offer some lessons. I've been speaking to the Department of Health, and I'm in the process of trying to get it done. The kids need swimming lessons in this town, and I'm going to see if we can make it happen. The other thing is, Mr. Jelly, you said that the samples at the beach, okay? You said the first sample came back fine, second sample came back not so fine. Now, were those doubled up, like you said in the meeting a few, maybe not last month, maybe the month before, where you were going to expedite things? That first sample, is that like 2 samples, or was that just 1 sample of water? And was the second one, was that 2 samples, or was that 1 sample of water that you sent to them?
Two samples.
2 samples on the first one and 2 samples on the second one? So
Yes, ma'am.
So technically 4 came back, right?
No, they combine the results to make one read, one interpretation.
And there's supposed to be 8 weeks of samples, right?
Normally they do 1 sample a week for 8 weeks. They have offered us the opportunity to do 2 samples a week for 4 weeks.
Okay. All right, just curious. And the first one was good, second one was bad. All right, thank you. And they didn't do any after the rain last night? I didn't hear whether that was answered or not.
We did not.
You did not. And I thought there were supposed to be at least 2 samples after a hard rain.
Maybe you guys should have a meeting.
Isn't there supposed to be samples after a hard rain also, like 2 of them?
There was a requirement. The health department stated that we've already met those based on the rain events we've had.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Penny.
Thank you, Penny.
Anyone else?
I do not see any other hands raised.
Okay, we do have a need for an executive session to discuss proposed pending or current litigation. I will need to recuse myself, so would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
To the executive session.
Second.
We do not anticipate any action. So would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. You need to do a roll call to go to executive session, please. Mayor Skelly,
I abstain.
Counselor Dilaba,
Yes.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Reach,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
approved.
So did we get a motion to adjourn after this?
I'll move it.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.